safety procedures. Introduction and content. COCL Outsourcing Company Limited (COCL) is committed to safety in all phases of our operations. We fully comply with all applicable laws and regulations. We believe that all accidents are preventable by establishing rules and safe working procedures, exercising good judgment, and using common sense. The following areas will be reviewed: company safety rules, personal protective equipment policy, safe use of equipment, hazard communication procedures, and fall overboard prevention inland. Company safety rules. 1. It is the policy of COCL that we will operate safely and in full compliance with all safety regulations. 2. No one may board any COCL vessel if he/she is under the influence of alcohol or drugs. 3. No alcohol or drugs are allowed aboard any vessel owned or operated by COCL. Violation of this rule will result in immediate dismissal. 4. Life vests or work jackets must be worn at all times when the possibility of falling overboard exists. COCL employees must wear a life jacket when on the tow, in a skiff, boarding or leaving a boat or barge, or at any other time when exposed to the water. Life vests must be properly secured when worn. 5. Station bills are posted on each boat. Each crew member must review his assignment aboard the vessel and be prepared to respond in an emergency. Learn your station immediately upon boarding your assigned boat. 6. All newly hired personnel must be aware that hazards are involved in learning a new job. When in doubt, ask. Always know exactly what you are supposed to do before you try to do it. 7. The boat and tow must be kept clean and free of obvious safety hazards. Good housekeeping will eliminate most hazards before an accident occurs. Stow lines, rigging, buckets, etc. when you finish a task. 8. Stairways and ladders must always remain unobstructed, clean, and free of tripping hazards. Never lay lines, cords, or wires across or downstairs. 9. Decks and walkways must be kept dry and free of slippery areas. All cargo residue, wet or dry, must be removed as soon as possible. 10. Handrails must be used at all times when using stairs or permanently installed ladders. Always face the stairs when going up or down them. Never attempt to use the stairs when both hands are full or your vision is obstructed. 11. When walking on the tow, always use an inboard walkway, not the outside edges. 12. Always carry a load on your outboard shoulder. Be prepared to let the item you are carrying fall overboard instead of yourself. 13. Treat vessel drills as a real emergency. Always respond with the appropriate equipment and report to your specified location. 14. No smoking areas must be observed without fail. You are not permitted to smoke aboard any tow of liquid cargo, on any dock, in the deck locker, in bed, at fueling stations, when fueling outboard engines, when painting or mixing paint, when using spray cans, or when handling any flammable product. 15. Always wear clothing appropriate for the task you are performing. Long pants and shirts are always required. 16. Cargo transfer operations create their own particular hazards. All personnel engaged in hookups, transfers, disconnect or cargo monitoring must always wear the appropriate protective equipment. Gloves, eye protection, respiratory protection, and protective clothing must always be worn if specified in the cargo transfer procedures. 17. Eye protection must be worn when using power tools, airlines, welding/cutting equipment or any activity that increases the chance of foreign material entering your eye. 18. Hearing protection must always be worn when in the engine room, generator room, barge machinery area, or when passing through spaces that have high noise levels. 19. When laying wires, handling lines, working ratchets, etc. Always work on the inside side of the line and protect yourself from a fall overboard. Ratchets must always be tightened inboard. 20. Be alert for other hazards that may arise while locking or docking. Hard bumps and gaps between the barges or between a barge and the lock wall may occur. Avoid an unsafe situation by paying close attention to what is happening around you. Inattention may lead to injury. 21. Always help other crew members stay safe by passing the word about bumps or other situations that might catch them by surprise. Hold on to something when you hear the word bump or see one coming up. 22. Never lean on lifelines, rails, lock walls, or over the edge of a vessel. 23. Always use a portable ladder correctly. Set the ladder at a safe working angle on secure footing. Do not try to use a ladder as a horizontal bridge. Always tie off the top of a portable ladder. 24. Repair or replace defective tools. Do not use a tool that is inappropriate for the job. Never wear loose clothing around machinery. Take special care when working around operating machinery. 25. Steel-toed work shoes are to be worn while aboard the vessel. All hands on watch must wear shoes that have skid and oil-resistant soles. Personnel working on deck must wear shoes that are at least ankle-high. Tennis shoes are forbidden when boarding the boat, when on watch or when leaving the boat. 26. Learn the location of all emergency equipment aboard your vessel. Know how to use the equipment before an emergency arises. 27. Line handling while locking or docking a tow may present a hazard to anyone who is not alert to his surroundings. Pay very close attention to the lines at each station. Keep yourself away from lines under strain and never straddle a line or place your feet in the bight. If you observe a situation that may create an immediate hazard, leave the area. 28. Never try to jump from barge to barge, barge to lock wall, barge to dock, etc. Always wait until you can make the move safely. Use a skiff if necessary. 29. Report all injuries or accidents, regardless of how slight. 30. Do not allow unauthorized personnel aboard the boat or tow. 31. Never place your hand or foot between the barges and townee, between barges and the tow, or between the dock and a vessel. 32. Never operate machinery unless all protective guards and alarms are in place and working as designed. 33. Never step on manhole covers. Always replace a manhole cover and secure it in a watertight condition. 34. Always keep your fingers, hands, and feet away from a pinch point at lines and deck fitting. 35. If you discover a fire, report the fire first, then fight the fire with the available equipment until help arrives. 36. When transporting rigging or lines, always carry the equipment as taught. Do not try to drag lines across barges. 37. Never engage in horseplay or practical jokes. 38. Always use a flashlight at night. Be sure that you illuminate the deck area rather than step into a shadow. Never step where you cannot see the edge of a vessel or the deck. Use your flashlight carefully to avoid blinding the pilot, yourself or another crew member. Always use the buddy system at night when checking the tow. Never go out on the tow or aloft without checking with the pilot house first. 39. Learn and observe all company safety rules. Watch how things develop at a dock or lock so you can anticipate and avoid hazardous situations. The best safety tip of all is pay attention. Be alert to everything and everyone as you perform your task. 40. Entry into cargo spaces, wing tanks, rakes, or voids is prohibited. Personal Protective Equipment Policy. Personal protective equipment, PPE, is a barrier between the employee and workplace hazards. While PPE generally makes our workplace hotter and more uncomfortable, the results of not taking precautions in the workplace can be tragic. A serious laceration, loss of eyesight, Chemical overexposure, hearing loss, or even drowning may result from not wearing PPE. Vessel crew members must wear the appropriate gear and keep it readily available. PPE must be considered a part of our daily operation for every employee, from new trainees to senior captains. All PPE should be cleaned, inspected, and stored after each use. The company will replace company-supplied PPE when it becomes substandard due to normal wear and tear or work-related damage. Damage to company-issued PPE should be reported to the vessel captain. Eye protection. Safety glasses or safety goggles must be worn when eye impact hazards exist. Work situations that require eye protection include, but are not limited to the following: chipping, scaling, grinding, hammering or brush/roller painting, startup of barge pump engines, cutting, repairing, or installing wire rope, bleeding off air pressure, walking in plants or facilities that require eye protection, and changing out spotlight bulbs or fluorescent tube lights. Safety goggles must be worn when splash hazards exist or when an impact hazard exists with an employee wearing prescription non-safety glasses. Work situations that require safety goggles include, but are not limited to, the following: hooking up or disconnecting barge cargo, stripping, or vent hoses, bleeding air off cargo pumps, cleaning up cargo spills, cleaning with a washdown gun or spray painting, removing blank flanges, plugs, or caps from lines or hoses when residual pressure exists, disconnecting hydraulic hoses, fuel hoses, or cargo lines where residual pressure may exist, and during barge cargo transfer startups when hose connections are being checked for leaks. A full-face respirator may be required due to vapor hazards in many of these potential splash situations. Full-face respirators can be substituted for splash goggles when appropriate. Foot protection. Trainees, deckhands, and tankermen when performing work duties must wear steel-toed leatherwork boots. Boat wheelmen must wear steel-toed leatherwork shoes or boots when performing normal work duties or when walking in chemical plants, dock facilities and shipyards. Steel-toed rubber boots, steel-toed, slip-resistant PVC boots must be worn during boat washdowns, wet weather, or cargo splash hazard situations where leather boot damage as well as contamination can occur. Head protection. Hard hats must be worn when there is a potential for head injury due to impact or penetration from overhead objects. Work situations in which hard hats are required include, but are not limited to, the following: working near, or with, an operating crane, working on a bunker barge when alongside a ship, walking or working in a shipyard, walking or working in a plant or marine dock facility when not aboard the boat or barge, and working on the barge, when required by the plant or marine dock facility. Hand protection. Synthetic rubber gloves, synthetic, impermeable gloves made of chemical-resistant material must be worn where hand contact with cargoes or chemicals is possible. Examples of situations where synthetic rubber gloves must be worn include, but are not limited to, the following: removing or connecting blank hose flanges, making or breaking cargo hose connections, stripping or mopping cargo tanks, cleaning with paint thinner or degreasers, changing oil or fuel filters, handling calcium hypochlorite tablets, using oven cleaners, and working on the vessel's marine sanitation device. Leather gloves made of cowhide or pigskin are required when hands may come into contact with surfaces that can cut or penetrate the skin. Gear and tools that must be handled with leather gloves include, but are not limited to, the following: wire rope, ratchets, slings, winch wheels, sledgehammers, toothpicks, chains, and grating and deck plates. Hearing protection. Hearing protection is required whenever sound levels become uncomfortable. Situations in which earmuffs and/or earplugs must be worn include, but are not limited to, the following. In the boat engine room when the main engine and/or generators are operating. Within 25 feet of an operating barge pump engine. And when using a deck scaler, needle gun, or portable grinder. Skin protection. Cargo transfers and barge maintenance provide an opportunity for skin exposure to chemicals. All personnel conducting cargo transfers or maintenance must wear, as a minimum, long-sleeve shirts and long pants as well as previously listed PPE. Additional skin protection measures are required when handling cargoes with particularly hazardous characteristics. Two-piece PVC rain suits or chemical-resistant, impermeable, disposable splash suits must be worn when skin contact to carcinogens such as benzene, corrosives such as acetic acid, and grade B poisons such as acrylonitrile is possible. Activities which require additional skin protection include, but are not limited to, the following. Removing or connecting blank hose flanges. Making or breaking cargo hose connections. And bleeding air off cargo pumps. Asphalt or other cargoes exceeding 200 degrees Fahrenheit require face shield protection due to the potential for skin burns whenever a splash hazard exists. Work situations where face shields must be worn include, but are not limited to, the following. Removing blank flanges. And making or breaking cargo hose connections. Corrosive or acid cargoes require face shield protection due to the potential for skin burns whenever a splash hazard exists. Work situations where face shields must be worn include, but are not limited to, the following. Removing blank flanges. And making or breaking cargo hose connections. A full face respirator can be substituted for a face shield in any cargo splash situation. Face shields must be worn with safety glasses or splash goggles. Face shields are not considered adequate eye protection when worn alone. Drowning protection. Working life vests, Type 3 or Type 5, Coast Guard approved with reflective material on all flotation cells, must be worn when there is a risk of entering the water unexpectedly. Situations in which a working life vest is required to be worn include, but are not limited to, the following. Anytime a person is working for or with COCL and the individual is aboard a vessel. While using ladders, ramps, gangways, pilings, or fender works to gain access to or from a barge. On the boat main deck at right when underway. On the boat main deck during a storm when underway. Lane the boat skiff. And in emergency response team boats. There are only a few exceptions in the COCL life vest rule. When a barge is in the shipyard and dry dock or moored for long-term shipyard maintenance, life vests need not be worn during performance of maintenance work. In addition, individuals authorized to enter cargo or void tanks need not wear a life vest when in the tanks. Safe use of equipment. No welding or cutting is to be conducted by any crew members. The port engineer will schedule such work. Skiffs are provided for use on COCL business only. Company business includes, but is not limited to, the following. Crew changes. Supply pickup, emergencies, and picking up shore representatives or other visitors with permission to be aboard the vessel. Except for emergencies, skiffs should be used in calm and/or protected waters only. The wheelman on watch should ensure that the rated capacity and/or weight limit of the skiff is not exceeded. Personnel riding in or operating the skiff must wear a work vest or life jacket. Do not stand in the skiff. When using an outboard motor with the skiff, ensure that the motor is securely fastened to the boat and that the fuel tank has sufficient fuel for the expected duration of the trip. Personal use of the skiff is prohibited. Handling face wires. Ensure that face wires are free of obstructions. Ensure that an adequate amount of slack is in the face wire to perform the job without difficulty. Walk the face wire towards the timber head, button, or cavil using both hands and ensuring footing is adequate to perform the job. The wheelman on watch may assist the person in charge by maneuvering the vessel, which provides less resistance on the face wire, creating slack for ease of movement. Remove the face wire from the button installed on the push knee of the vessel. When placing face wires on timber heads, make sure that your hands and fingers are not in the bite of the wire. Repeat the above steps when handling opposite face wires. After face wires are in proper placement on the barge, the person in charge should tighten the face wires using the deck winches aboard the vessel. Handling barge rigging. Ensure that threaded pin is screwed all the way into the band of the ratchet. Ensure that each pelican hook is fastened to its keeper before carrying them onto the barge or boat. Ensure that the rigging wires are rolled up in a tight coil so that no loose ends are available to cause tripping hazards. Lift rigging by using your legs, not your back. Carry rigging on your outboard shoulder. When hanging rigging from one person to another, make sure that the receiving person has proper footing and that rigging is handed over in a safe manner. Do not toss, throw, or drop rigging to another person. Electric or electric over hydraulic winches may be operated from the wheelhouse of the vessel by the wheelman on watch, or from the bottom deck by the person in charge. Inspection, replacement and specifications. Inspect all cables routinely. Do not use cables that have more than 2 frayed lines. Do not use cables that are kinked or appear corroded and/or fragile. Use this procedure for all cable applications, including those that may be on an outside barge. Minimum cable size is 7/8 inch with 1 foot, 2 feet, or 3 feet high, having a straight pull strength of 7 tons or better. Hula hoops with chain will also be 7/8 inch by 30 inches 6 by 25 and have a minimum straight pull of 12 tons. Vessel rigging requirements. Portable electric hand tools. Ensure that electrical wire and connections are in good operating condition and have no loose or unshielded wires. Ensure that electrical tools with locking trigger mechanisms are left in the open position before electrical power is connected. Do not lock trigger mechanisms. Do not operate electrical tools in wet weather or in conditions that may lead to contact with water. Portable air hand tools. Inspect air tools to ensure that they are in proper working order. Ensure air hoses are made of sufficient material and are in sufficiently good physical condition to withstand the operating pressure needed to operate the tool. Ensure that crow's foot, claw connections used to connect sections of air hoses have safety pins in place. Use air supply through an airline equipped with a regulator set for the maximum pressure for which the tool was designed. Never leave an air hand tool unattended at a work site while under pressure. Turn the air off before disconnecting the hose. Bleed off any remaining pressure in the line through the tool. Never disconnect air hoses while under pressure. Hazard communication procedures. The purpose of the COCL Hazard Communication Program is to alert employees to the presence of hazardous chemicals in the workplace and to show how to work safely with these chemicals. It is company policy that each individual understand emergency procedures and safety precautions associated with hazardous substances utilized both in the shop and field locations. Major elements of this program include a comprehensive list of the hazardous chemicals found in the workplace. Readily available material safety data sheets (MSDS). Assurance that containers of hazardous substances are appropriately labeled, tagged, or marked. Training in using and comprehending MSDS labeling. And a system to inform employees, customers, subcontractors, or visitors of hazardous chemicals to which they may be exposed and suggest protective measures. Fall overboard prevention inland. The majority of towing vessel crew fatalities are the result of falls overboard. By following these procedures, vessel crew members can reduce the risks to themselves and their fellow crew members. All falls overboard, whether or not they result in injury or death, must be reported using the COCL Standard Incident Report. All employees should participate in a safety briefing when reporting aboard the vessel covering, at a minimum, the work practices outlined in this procedure. Employees must be instructed in the following topics. Always receive authorization from the wheelhouse before going on deck and/or on board the tow. Discuss known hazards such as notches, duck ponds, walking conditions and current weather conditions with the off-going watch. Don proper personal protective equipment. And use the buddy system at all times. Conclusion. All COCL employees have the opportunity and responsibility to protect themselves and to contribute to the protection of their fellow crew members, the environment, and the equipment for which they are responsible. We believe that the best safety tip of all is pay attention.